You can see who. So we've got the Benders up front and Sky, and we've got Russ in the back. Ask Russ about this incredible award he's about to receive. He's a great guy. If, if you are a newcomer, we want to invite you to introduce yourself to one of these greeters or to me. We can answer whatever questions you have. And please fill out the yellow greeter card, the welcome card that is inside your gray hymnal. You can put that in the collection basket as it passes. And if you're so inclined, please feel free to hang around and introduce yourself to people, talk it up. Newcomers on Zoom, I'd like to invite you to introduce yourself to other participants, especially our virtual usher, Kat Lockwood. So folks in the sanctuary, please rise now in body or in spirit and open your gray hymnal to number 118, this little light of mine, which you may already know.
Palace is packed with meaning. This fragile little flame, protected by this solid wooden chalice, the same way everything that we hold dear inside of us is protected by this loving congregation. So I've invited Lily to help me light the chalice today. While I read the words of Reverend Brigitte Bechtold, we light our chalice, imagining what lies in the liminal space between the flame and its circle, what dwells in the interstitial space between the cracks in our lives' pavement and the threads of our day's fabric. What meanings are hidden, between the words that we know and those we have yet to conceptualize? What compassion flutters between me and you and all of us? Between the known and the mystery, and we color it all with love.
If you've been around for a little while, you've heard me say this before. I came to Unitarian Universalism for the abstract ideas, the theologies, the values, the covenants, all of which I fell in love with immediately and still love. But I stayed for the kids. In a congregation that wasn't super warm or welcoming when I first became a UU, it was the 14-year-olds leading worship one Sunday morning in May that made me think, any congregation that can bring up kids like this is a congregation I want to be a part of. And it turned out to speak not just for the congregation, but the whole denomination. I have loved every single youth I've encountered in the congregations I've served. Most of my ministry has been about not just getting to know the youngest among us. It's been about really integrating them into the life of our congregation so that they always know, no matter what, no matter where they are, we always belong to them. And that this is a safe and loving place for them to bring their whole selves, even when they are messy and loud, just like we can all be. So let's rise now in body or in spirit, all of us, every age, every gender, every identity at home and here in the sanctuary, as we recite together our covenant. The words are printed in the order of service. Love is the spirit of this congregation, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
So we have this group here in this congregation of 10 and 9-year-olds who have been working together with me and Rev Denis for the past few months in a program that we call the Wonder Explorers. And we have been exploring the world together through careful observation and recording our responses and our emotions that arise from our experiences. So we've been engaging in the gentle art of self-reflection. We've also been recording in journals and talking about what questions come up as we experience the world together and what we wonder about as we reflect on our experiences. And Paxton and Rosie and smaller people, Rosalind and Jude, when you all are 10, you get to do this with us too. And do you know what we did? Our first gathering together, we had an ice cream party. Except instead of like giant bowls of sundaes with all the toppings, we had teeny tiny fairy teacups with the tiniest little scoop of ice cream in it. And we sat with those tiny bits of ice cream and we really experienced them. So I think Rev Denis has mentioned this, but does everybody know that ice cream actually makes a sound? It really does. Next time you have ice cream, hold it up to your ear. And then we visited the giant trolls at Ninigrit Park, the huge, 2-story tall trolls. And we got to observe that interaction of art and nature and people and watch people as they interacted with this art in nature and watch ourselves as we did. And then our last gathering was at the Rock Spot climbing gym where we climbed giant walls and experienced our own inner workings of how we felt about being really high up. So I just want to honor the exploring and the digging and the stretching and the deepening that these kids have been doing and will continue to do, as we all do, as we grow. And so today is their affirmation ceremony. How else does it work? Okay, come on in.
One of the things we value most as Unitarian Universalists is asking questions, especially questions about how we relate to the world and how we make meaning out of the lives that we're living. Questions help us become more compassionate, more human. So we are welcoming this morning 3 children into our culture of curiosity by taking time to answer the questions that they ask as best we can, because questions are important. So Beatrice, Luciana, and James have each come up with a big question just within the last couple of days, which Lee and I will attempt to answer in a minute or 2. Now, all of these questions are good, and some of the best questions are the ones that are the hardest to answer. James, Bea, Lulu, your questions were so good, they're impossible to completely answer in a couple minutes, but we're going to do our best.
And the good thing is that we can keep looking for answers to these questions together and share what we know, no matter what your age, because we all have different experiences in this ongoing journey together. And new layers keep being uncovered as we grow and change and see new perspectives and hear new ideas. And on this journey, each of us are sharing what we know together. So I hope that all of you, especially you kids, will continue to share what you know with us.
James is 10 years old, and he's the son of Sarah and Peter Totley. And many of us know his grandparents, Linda White Burrell and Ed Burrell. And James's question is a compound question. Why does my nose get itchy and feel funny with allergies? And why do bones break? So James, that is a crazy good question. It's a question that it's a kind of question that people ask all the time. And a lot of the times it's like, why does this have to happen to me? Mm-hmm. And the thing about that question is that there really isn't any answer. I mean, things happen. Bones break, people have allergies. Our bikes get stolen, our cars get wrecked, people we love die. These things just happen. It's the nature of life. But the important thing isn't why they happen. The important thing is how you deal with bad things, right? So do you just say, I'm so beaten down and so victimized, my life is terrible? Or do you rise up and see the people who are around you, who love you no matter what and will always help you make things better? That's the stuff that really matters, that you know that you're not alone and that these things happen to everybody.
It's okay, it's just so small. And James, the other little piece that I wanted to add was that I know that all of us can do hard things. And I watched it happen when you climbed a little bit higher on the climbing wall beyond where it was comfortable. And so even when something is uncomfortable, like allergies, we learn how to be with that. And then we climb a little higher. So we have a song to sing to you. If you would like to come up, you can. Would you like to come stand up here? You do not have to. James is standing right on the side in the perfect spot. And we're gonna sing the Celebrate song that a lot of you know as a birthday song that I brought from the West Coast. And it's simple and it requires clapping, even by the one that is being honored. So if you would like to clap, James, you can. Ready? It goes like this. Oh, time. Okay. James, we affirm you as a beloved member of our congregation, capable of compassion and curiosity. And I have a journal for you to continue your musings in the world. Can you come get it, or Rev Denis can give it to you? Members of the congregation, I invite you to please joyfully repeat after me. We affirm you, James.
We affirm you, James.
So Beatrice is also 10 years old. She is the daughter of Carrie Curto and April Ruda Flores. And her question was also a compound question. It was, how does technology work? And how is there so much inside of this little rectangle? I'm going to show the people on Zoom what kind of rectangle I'm talking about. This little rectangle. So that's a really big question. Where are you? There you are. And it is really amazing, isn't it, how much is contained inside of a single piece of technology, which is the cell phone, and how we can have access to so many things within this little piece of technology. So we have the internet, which is endless and connects us to the whole world. And we have every app you can ever think of, every game that's ever been thought of to play on a screen, plus all the utilitarian things like a stopwatch and a calculator and a clock and a telephone and a compass. And each one of those things is also a piece of technology that was invented by curious humans, because we humans love to invent. We love innovation. We love to wonder, how can we make this work better? How can we solve this problem or this situation with a better tool? Like the really, really early technology of a wheel, which I just saw a wheel rolling around on the ground right here. So the wheel was an invention long ago by early humans, and it changed everything. It made it so people could travel really long distances to each other. They could trade things together. They could move really heavy objects. Animals could pull parts. They could start building bigger things with heavier materials. All, like, the whole world changed. And so even though I can't explain the inner workings of a cell phone to you, although there are people who could, we could dig deeper and learn more about how that works. Lily probably has some answers. Hold on. We're gonna talk about this when we go outside, because that's the thing about these questions, they just there's not an answer and we're done, you know? So but what I wanna say Beatrice, is that I heard the awe in your voice when you asked that question. Like, how is this possible? And that awe and that wonder at this technology, that's what keeps us innovating and keeps us creating new things and discovering new things. And every time there's a new innovation, it makes people wonder more, like the wonder that you had about the cell phone. So I love that it just continues and connects us to more wonder.
B, can you come up? So we have this beautiful journal for you that matches your dress. How perfect is that? So B, we affirm you as a beloved member of this congregation, capable of compassion and curiosity. So everyone, say with me, we affirm you, B. We affirm you, B.
And we're gonna sing our celebration song to you. Everybody knows it now, right? Ready? Thank you.
Thanks, Mia. So Luciana has a very big name. She's also known as Lulu, and she is 9 years old. She's the daughter of Bethany and Joseph Sorrentino. And Lulu's question is, why did we invent money? And why do things have to cost money? So here's the thing. Way back in the early days of humans, when they were just starting to settle into caves and huts and that kind of thing, and starting to accumulate stuff, different communities, like families or little groups, found that maybe they needed something and this other group had something, so they would trade. And then after a while, they started realizing, well, those people have something that, like, I have something those people want, but they don't have anything I want, so maybe there's something else that they could give me instead. So they started using precious gems that they found, stones and things like that, and shells that were very valuable that they could give instead of something else that they had. So that was an early form of money. Over time, we started using coins, and then it became bills, and
Now our phones.
And now our phones, and now like money isn't even real anymore. It's just sort of this idea that happens on technology, right? Oh, it's all so mind-boggling. But the thing is that money is the thing that we trade our life energy for, right? So when we work, we're giving our life energy, and in return, people are giving us this we call money that we can trade for things that we want. It's a big concept. It's a really big idea, but I think the thing to remember about money is because it's the thing that we trade our life energy for, it's really important that we spend it on things that are important. Not just things that have a value for money, but have a value for society. That we spend money in ways that lift up our values and the people that we love. So Lulu, you want to come up? Do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah. I always have something to add. I'm like looking at the time. But Lulu, it reminded me of the giant troll with the beautiful jewelry and the shells made out of precious stones, and how she maybe had those to barter or to sell, but also we had the idea that maybe she was just creating beautiful sacred space with them. And I just thought that was a neat connection to how we trade and create our creative force of putting more beauty into the world.
Yeah, because remember how she was holding that strand of shells up like it was an offering?
Yeah.
Money can be pretty sacred.
Yeah.
So here's your journal. Wait. So let's sing our song.
Let's sing to you. You ready? Everybody ready?
We didn't say the important part.
Well, this is the ending piece that you get to hear from the whole congregation, because we affirm you. Wait. We want to tell you that you are a beloved member of this congregation and that you are capable of so much curiosity and compassion. And I invite the congregation to repeat after me. We affirm you, Lulu.
We affirm you, Lulu.
Thank you.
Hear from you, Lord.
And now, we are gathering up our things if you are young or young at heart and need to go play outside in the sun. So if you could gather what you're working on and we will sing us out.
This is one of those rare Sundays when we're not sharing our joys and concerns aloud. But I wanted to bring into this sacred space the sad news that Warren Beckwith, longtime friend of the congregation and husband of Barbara Beckwith, died yesterday, ending an intense battle with cancer. He entered hospice a few weeks ago and was blessed to be surrounded by his wife and daughters and children in the last couple weeks. Barbara was alone with him when he passed. No arrangements have been made yet, but we'll keep you posted. So now, holding the dissonance of joyful children and lost life, let's take a moment now to regroup, shall we? I invite you to shake your hands, your feet, if you like, wherever you are here at home, before finding a nice, comfortable position to sit or lie or stand in. And shift if you need to, in order to really settle down and feel your body. So I want to ask you to notice the kinds of things that we talked about with Bea and Lulu and James. What are your sensations at the moment? What do you smell or taste? What do you hear? What do you see? It's okay to look around as much as you want. Do you see people or things that you love? Do you see anyone or anything that is new to you? What emotions are coming up for you? Are you reminded of anything? Do your memories bring you comfort or something else? Just breathe. And notice how your emotions feel in your body. Remember that you have within you the ability to deal with whatever feelings you have. You have an enormous capacity for curiosity and compassion. And people who love you to be present, no matter what. This prayer is a gift from Reverend Tess Baumberger. Wouldn't it be great if you could take a picture of your soul? Then when your mother wanted to brag about you, she could show people the picture and say, "That's my daughter. Doesn't she have a beautiful soul, all sparkly and many-colored and flowing all around her?" Wouldn't it be great if we walked around surrounded by our souls so that they were the first things people saw instead of the last things? Then people would judge us by who we really are instead of how we look. Imagine no more racism, ageism, sexism, faddism, shortism, homophobia. Imagine falling in love with a person who is, just by looking at them. It would be a kind of cloaking device, hiding physical faults, defects, or even perfections. I'd want it to be mandatory. Then people would work at making their souls more attractive instead of their bodies and faces. Imagine people knowing by your soul that you really need a hug. Imagine people helping each other and their souls changing colors or growing. Imagine soul gyms with exercises to get your sagging soul in shape. Imagine the long lines forming for soul lifts at churches, temples, mosques, synagogues, or nature's grand cathedrals. Imagine. May it be so. Let's remain seated, shall we, since we're so comfy, even as the choir rises. For hymn number 108, My Life Flows On. God, kids have the greatest questions, don't they? I mean, money. The first time I led an affirmation ceremony, like this morning's ceremony, the very first question I got was, why is my brother so annoying? So I told the kid about Cain and Abel. I mean, not the whole story, but I pointed out how universal and timeless their complaint was. The Bible can be really helpful that way. So a colleague recently was telling the kids one Sunday the story about Lot. And she said, the man named Lot was warned to take his wife and flee out of the city. But when his wife looked back, she turned to a pillar of salt. And one kid in the front row jumped up and said, what happened to the flea? So of course she told him what a great question it was. And then she took the opportunity to sort of clarify what she had said, change the cadence of the sentence so it made sense. And then she told the boy that all questions get us to see things from a different angle. So all questions, even when they put us on the spot, are really valuable contributions. And so this is your reminder that as we accept the offering this morning, all contributions are valuable. Thank you.
Please open your book.
Thank you, V, and thank you all for everything that you bring. Your attention, your care, your compassion, your patience, and these treasures. Please know that they'll be used with as much wisdom as we can muster. For several decades now, we lived in an information economy. If you're my age or older, you remember what it was like in its heyday. The United States was no longer a powerhouse of industrial manufacturing. It was a leader of technology. In that economy, facts, figures, and demographics reigned supreme, as generated the ideas and designs behind increasingly more sophisticated technologies. It was a time of constant wonder and marvel. Remember how amazing a fax machine was? Then millennials, born roughly between 1982 and 2000, started coming of age and everything shifted. They had all the information they needed in the electric devices that became ubiquitous during their childhood and youth. So as adult drivers of the economy, they were interested in information. They were not so interested in information that came so easily. They were really interested in authenticity. They just didn't want to buy a product or a service. They wanted to know the story behind that product or service. There's an old skit from a TV show called Portlandia in which a couple dining in a nice restaurant asks the server about the chicken and where it comes from. Remember that? She gets a story about this chicken named Cowan, and they go to visit the farm where they meet the farmer and his wives, not his wife, but his wives, and they get sucked into the cult of this charismatic leader only to emerge 5 years later to complete their order at the restaurant. And that's the thing about an authenticity economy, right? Every little detail matters. And the more unique the story, the more value it had. But now they say that we are in an attention economy in which ubiquitousness and affordability drive the marketplace. In a way, it feels like just the opposite of the previous economies. And I can think of two people who sum up the attention economy for me. The first is Kylie Jenner, the youngest of the Kardashian clan, the daughter of Kris and Caitlyn Jenner. By age 20, she was a mother and a billionaire, a self-made billionaire. Everything she does online becomes an instant sensation. Once, she wore sheer tights, the ultimate in throwaway fast fashion, as pants. Can you imagine tights as pants? Her underwear was fully on display. Right? And she made it a thing. She made tights as pants a thing. Now, thankfully, that thing never came. It came and went so fastly that it never even made it to little old South County. Thank you. That's how we know there's a God. Because they are inescapable, she and her sisters somehow, they're role models for children of all genders, because they get to make billions of dollars just living their lives and posting pictures and reels of their lives. So it shouldn't be a surprise that most kids now grow up wanting to be influencers. More than half of all kids say they want to be influencers. Not doctors, lawyers, teachers, firefighters, influencers, content creators. And what they don't realize, though, is that influencers spend their entire lives working for attention. They get no time off. It's exhausting. Doing their morning regime is fodder to get attention. There's this other person whose name I don't want to know, who makes highly edited reels in which she dumps all manner of highly processed food into huge disposable roasting pans, usually with fast food French fries or a giant block of cheese food in the center. And then she bakes it and takes it out and tastes it, saying, so good. It's so good for you. And she gets millions of hits, like every day, millions of hits. I keep blocking her and she keeps reappearing. And some people think it's hilarious, right? But most people who comment on her feed are really angry and leave rageful comments calling her stupid and lazy and even dangerous. But she responds to everyone
here.
in this way that seems sort of kind. It's kind of fake kind, that sort of antagonizes them so that they hang around and fight with her. It's engagement. And the thing about engagement is it creates more engagement so that she ends up in everybody's feed. She's the epitome of ubiquity. She is absolutely unavoidable if you have spent any time in social media. At least she was the last time I looked at Instagram. Things may have completely changed in that time. The thing is that engagement is money. It doesn't even have to be good engagement. In the attention economy, The most hated person in the world can get wealthy by simply being the most hated person in the world. So politicians have picked up on this. Many of them don't care about doing the right thing or representing anyone, because now the measure of success in the attention economy is engagement. They'll be reelected even if they're despised simply because they get engagement and attention. People go into the voting booth and they know that name. And if they do care about doing the right thing, their constant struggle is how can they take attention, power from the showboaters? Stand in front of Congress and talk for 25 hours straight? I mean, sure, it felt great while Cory Booker did that, but 6 weeks later, doesn't it feel like ancient history? I find myself grappling with how to compete with that. I mean, how do I, the 3/4 time minister of a small congregation in the smallest denomination, in the smallest state, how do I compete for attention with the likes of these people? I gotta tell you, I have no interest in doing what I would have to do to get the engagement I'd need just to get our message out there on the internet. And the very, very, very few ministers who actually are getting gigantic viral engagement, literally, all they do is work on social media. I guarantee you, their sermons are summaries of their posts from the preceding week. And if I'm honest, in this liberal congregation where we come from different faiths and different backgrounds with different needs and different expectations, the people who get attention from me and from the leaders who do all the work around here are the most tenacious folks with the loudest voices. Sorry, introverts. I mean, seriously, I know it's hard to believe, but I'm an introvert. So I get your struggle. And still, the people who come directly to me again and again and again are the ones who get the majority of my attention. You know, just last week, the Committee on Ministry, who seem to be everywhere lately, have you noticed, like, they're ubiquitous, facilitated an evaluation of the ministry with me and Lee and representatives from a few key committees, including the board. And my biggest takeaway from that evaluation was that I don't do anywhere near as much as I hope to do of the things that support you personally. I don't get to call you and chat with you or visit you at home or in the hospital as much as I want, even though those are the very things that feed my ministerial soul. And don't get me wrong, I am not complaining, seriously. I love you all and care for you all. But that's just how it works in the world now, especially since we're all accustomed to this attention economy, even if we don't realize it. The bottom line is that for all of us, it's just become more difficult to concentrate, to meet our goals, and to just do the things we want to do any given day with everything vying for our attention every second. We end up letting ourselves down, and we end up letting down everyone around us. I'll bet that the children of so good and so good for you lady are let down not only by her cooking, but by the amount of her attention she has to put into capturing everyone else's attention. A few weeks ago, I went to the biggest catalog of books I know, Amazon.com, and found more than 20 titles with the words attention economy. 20, all of them written within the last 2 years. All but one of those books were manuals for taking advantage of the attention economy. Instructions for getting attention, quick, cheap attention. One book, though, stood out, called The Politics of Attention, Alternatives to the Attention Economy, a collection of essays edited by Italian socialist Enrico Campo and French professor of literature and media, Yves Citon. In their introduction, They say that the crisis of the attention economy is so obvious, so undisputed, that they don't even waste any time trying to prove it or disprove it. Instead, they ask readers to just immediately reframe our understanding in two ways. First, they say to think of attention not as the polar opposite of distraction. They say that that's an unhelpful binary. And can I just say, the more that I think about binaries of all types, the less use I have for them. Anyway, they want us to think of attention and distraction as complementary in a triangle with curiosity. And they want us to think of it not as a vertical triangle where something always has to end up on top or on the bottom, but to think of it horizontally, where each point bleeds into the other points. And the whole triangle is resting on a fulcrum. And our job is to balance that, to balance attention, curiosity, and distraction. And the thing is that each one of those things has its pros and cons, right? Attention is good because it allows us to meet our goals and focus our attention on the people and things that matter to us. And focus is bad when it becomes hyper-focus that takes us away from whom and what we love. And curiosity is great because it drives us to learn about the unfamiliar, which builds compassion and inspires big, innovative thinking. And it's bad when it turns into data mining, digging deeper and deeper and deeper for more information before we make any decisions, and it ends up becoming a kind of intellectual paralysis. And distraction is great because it allows us to pull the other two back. It allows us to pull back attention and curiosity enough. Like, give us enough time to apply these complex ideas to our own circumstances and spend a little time daydreaming about what could be. But it's bad when it becomes an avoidance tactic, right? So attention, curiosity, and distraction are like mind, body, and soul. If one has too much power or weight on that part of the fulcrum, the whole thing collapses. So the second thing that Campo and Citton want us to think of in this triangle on a fulcrum existing is that it exists within each of us individually. And it exists within us collectively on all different levels. And as I say in the study, in multiple feedback loop between acquired habits, technical networks, socio-political institutions, and cultural schemes. In other words, every individual and every group at every level is balancing this triangle of attention, curiosity, and distraction. And none of us was created in a vacuum. We arrive with our own personalities, and we're the products of our family, our community, and the organizations we've ever shared in. They didn't say this, but I will. Balancing mind, body, and spirit keeps us healthy physically and morally. Balancing income, expenses, and values keeps us healthy financially and morally. So balancing attention, curiosity, and distraction keeps us healthy socially and morally. It really is all about breaking down the binary and embracing the balance of triangles, isn't it? And I feel like that's what we've been trying to teach to our kids. It's no wonder they're asking about things like our bodies, money, and technology. And I gotta tell you, we didn't even get Lulu's question about money until late yesterday afternoon. That's how much these things are on these kids' minds. So right after the service today, we're going to have the Committee on Ministry is going to be hosting a conversation led by professional facilitator Rebecca Foster. And we're going to be talking a bit more about some of the bigger issues that are on the hearts and minds of members and friends of this congregation. Too many of the issues that are weighing on us right now seem to be getting oversimplified in binary terms that are kind of defined by tensions. If you've been paying attention, you've heard this, right? young versus old, upstairs versus downstairs, safety versus justice, serving congregants versus serving the wider community, keeping our organizational structure exactly as it is versus blowing it all up and starting all over again. But today is a time to hear one another's concerns and ideas, not so that we can convince anyone to change sides. It's a time to really listen to each other, to break down those false binaries and to seek the third points, right? That we can hold horizontally and put on a fulcrum and find the balance of. It's gonna be all about trying to find third ways instead of trying to live in dynamic tension. I said this last week at the beginning of Joy's Concerns. It's tempting to put our attention to mentally composing what we want to say. So we get distracted from really listening and end up feeling more disappointed than curious. So today, let's dismantle the attention economy by giving speakers our full attention while also being present to our own emotions, especially nurturing our curiosity. How radical would that be in an attention economy? Maybe so. Please rise now or remain seated to sing with gusto. Number 18. As we end our worship, may we all be in touch with our minds, our bodies, our souls. May we remember that even when we are sinking down, we have friends nearby to bring us back to the core of who we are. And that together, we can always sing. We extinguish this chalice that we take with us out into the world, sharing it with those we encounter on our journey. On Tuesday, we'll be working together to do a big spring cleaning downstairs in the RE space, moving furniture, washing windows, wiping all the toys, the whole enchilada. That's gonna be from 9 to 2, so please let Mike, can you raise your hand so people see who you are? Please, let Mike Bilecki know that you can come down and help. The annual meeting is coming up fast. It's gonna be on June 8th after the service. We'll gather to review the year, approve the budget for next year, and vote in new leaders. So keep an eye out in your email for the information packet before that happens, and please make sure you're here. And of course, in just a few minutes, we'll be getting our follow-up to the April 6th listening session, and everyone is invited to join the conversation. So for today and for the annual meeting, I just want to let you know that we'll be here in the sanctuary, but folks can also join us by Zoom, even for voting in the annual meeting. So stay connected to be part of the conversation. So shall we rise now and sing our closing song?
Mommy. Mommy.
Oh, now that's
Where would you like this, Reggie? Just unmuted, so it's
Here for a moment.
Hi, folks. I'm Barbara. I'm from the ubiquitous Committee on Ministry. And I'm just quickly going to introduce. You're having trouble hearing? Everybody be quiet, please. Oh, okay. Great. I'm going to quickly introduce Rebecca, and then I'm going to turn it over to her. First, I really want to thank the Curtis Fund Committee for the grant that they provided to allow Rebecca to work with us here today. Rebecca is an internationally certified mindfulness meditation teacher conscious dance facilitator, hatha yoga instructor, and lifetime laughter yogi. She teaches mindfulness-based emotional intelligence at the men's and women's correctional facilities in Rhode Island. She holds a master's degree from the Princeton School of Public and International Affairs, and she's lived and worked in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. And most importantly, she's Lily's mom. And we asked her here today specifically because of her skills in working with groups who really need to listen to one another and empathize with one another. So without further ado, I give you Rebecca.
I have a longing for us to be a little bit more nestled together. I don't know if we could maybe bring.
So Rebecca,
Yes.
can you use the mic so people
Yes,
on
you sure
home can hear?
Yes.
Great.
If we could invite those who are further back to maybe grab a chair and bring us a little bit more in a kind of a huddle, that would be great. And sit here, sure.
So I have a question.
Yes.
How are you going to have a conversation across the generations without the other generation being here?
Some more people are coming.
We have 2 mics.
Would you like the passing the microphone?
What's that?
Yes.
Oh,
Would you like the passing the microphone?
yes.
Thank you.
Maybe that one matters, that one's not quite working, but the question was about having more of the younger generation present for a conversation that centers that purpose. Yes.
I have the same question. There's like 4 parents here.
I think at this moment, we're gonna trust the process and see what happens. But I wanna start out by just bringing a little bit of trust into ourselves. So just maybe, taking a breath together, and I'm a little frustrated by this thing, so maybe you can hold. Thank you. Those of you who were here a couple of weeks ago, we used this ball as just an invitation for us to breathe together. So I'm going to invite us to take a breath and breathe out. Just taking the time to feel your toes inside your shoes. So speaking about being barefoot, and I'm just acknowledging it's so beautiful out right now, and you're making the choice to be inside talking. So I'd like to take another breath, and this time we're going to grumble a little bit. Like, okay, so breathe in. Thank you. Take a few more breaths. This time we're gonna blow into the word, into the air, the letter I. Okay, so we're gonna inhale. And now we're gonna blow into the air a heart sign. Okay, so breathe in. And now we're gonna blow into the air U-C-S-C. And now we'll do the whole thing with an exclamation point. Ready? Inhale. Big, 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 big. Beautiful, thank you. Okay, so I was invited to talk. Well, Lee first invited me, and I was like, I don't know if I'm the right person. But then when we talked about it, I was like, well, maybe I am the right person. So I'm going to trust that in myself, and I want to invite each of you to trust that your presence here is necessary. And our intention together is, I'm going to vary slightly from what Rev. Denis said, because he was sort of inviting the third possibility. And I'm actually gonna say, let's wait on the third possibility and just simply allow ourselves both the bravery to speak what's true for us and the generosity of listening. And I want to say something about the bravery of speaking what's true, because when we speak what's true for us, we actually increase the level of difference between us. And that's scary. There's a lot of risk in that. And at the same time, it is absolutely necessary for a community to grow, that we take that risk. And the beautiful thing about empathic listening is that as we listen, we decrease the amount of difference between us. Also, absolutely necessary for our community to grow. So I'm going to invite both bravery and generosity into the space. And we're going to do that, we don't have that much time, so I'm just going to lay out what we're going to do together. We're going to break into small groups, and hopefully you'll have enough voices so that everybody gets some sense of the conversation. And we're going to be listening with a very particular tool. Many of you may be familiar with nonviolent communication. If you are, raise your hand, like that's something that you know well. Or know a little bit. What you all know well, because it's baked into the cake of Unitarian Universalism, is empathy. Right? And nonviolent communication really centers empathy as a tool for connection. And I will give you everything you need to be able to do that tool, because as much as we may move through the world as empathic human beings, when we get bumped, it's really hard to hold that with the same level of spaciousness. So I'll just give you some tools to be able to do that in a very systematic way with one another. And that's the agenda for the next hour. Anything else to say about any of that? Does anyone have any questions before we dive in? Yes?
Will we come back as a big group?
We will come back as a big group. Yep, absolutely. Okay. All right. Let me just check. Sure. I think I'm gonna ask. Let me toss these out first. So the topic, as it was articulated to me and was generated through the conversation that happened a few weeks ago, is essentially the relational dynamic between RE families and the leadership, between RE families and the rest of the congregation. That was the topic at hand. We had the most check marks next to it.
I would like to
Yes.
hear the We can share. Yeah, we can share. We can share.
More people came. That's great news. We can share for sure. So you have a sheet, or you're sharing a sheet that has just a list of feelings on it, on one side, and a list of needs and values on the other side. And what is important about this sheet is, if we think of empathy, it is born of relationship between you are carrying a feeling that I actually have carried in my life, that I can relate to. And that you're articulating a need or a value that I also carry. And so these are actually considered to be universal needs and values and universal feelings. They don't encompass every single one ever existed in the universe, but it's a nice list. So we're gonna be listening to one another, listening for feelings and needs. The piece that's really like a light bulb for me is the realization that if I am unhappy in any kind of way, it's because there's some unmet need in my life. Does that ring true? So the list on the feeling side, there's like feelings when my needs are being met, what kinds of feelings do you have when your needs are being met? Anybody?
Contentment.
Contentment, joy, yes. Safety, thank you. And what kinds of feelings do you have when your needs are not being met?
Frustration.
Lonely, frustration,
Grumpy.
anger,
Anxiety.
Irritable.
irritable, yes, thank you. All those things. I also want to say that the copy machine cut off a few of the feelings at the bottom, and I was hoping that they would be ones that probably we wouldn't need, but some of the feelings that were cut off were frustrated, wiped out, perturbed. So just know that this is not a complete list of feelings, but when I'm inviting the listeners to do is to listen for feelings and then to listen for unmet needs. Because living in those feelings and those unmet needs is our capacity to connect. And when we have that running, then the third possibility becomes available. Possibility, creativity, both and complexity, and also generosity. So that's where we're going. And I think it is important that we break into groups that allow us to center the voices, exactly as you articulated, that are most important to hear, I think, in this moment. So I'm going to invite. Yes, I see a question in the back.
Yes, I wasn't here tonight.
Uh-huh.
Is it possible to be more clear about what it is that we're talking about? I think the project is coming.
Yes. I think that that's what we're going to hear, and if you don't hear it precisely in your particular small group, you'll hear it when we gather together in the end. But I think right now, just maybe pause, and if you still have your question before we get going, we'll come back, okay? Thank you. I'm going to invite anyone who identifies themselves as an RE family to come up here. An RE family person.
What is that?
An RE family, sorry. Someone
I'm
with
gonna
kids.
go be an RE family person.
If you also identify as a younger generation person or a newer person to the church, I would invite you to come. Really? Is it possible to visit? Over there. Yeah. It's okay. Those are all. Let's just like that. Okay, thank you for being here. I want to emphasize the word cherished. So are you guys teaching?
We're your young folks.
Okay, beautiful.
And Amber.
And Amber.
I'm just an old young folks and I do the cherish.
Perfect. Okay, what do we cherish about this community of? Okay, what do we cherish about our RE families? I just want 4 or 5 popped up. What do we cherish? Not individual, but collectively. Yes.
Vibrancy.
Vibrancy. Beautiful. Energy. Enthusiasm.
Different ideas.
Different ideas. Thank you. Yeah. Spontaneity, creativity.
Raising kids in a really challenging time.
Amen.
Novelty. What's that?
Novelty.
Novelty. Beautiful. Okay. There's so much to cherish here. And here. yourselves as leadership in any kind of way. Like, could you stand up and say, I'm part of the mechanics of this in some way?
Or if they can't stand up, raise their hand.
Yes, raise your
If you
hand.
want to be accessible here.
Okay, great. Okay. Is there a way, I had this really different idea of how this was gonna work, but this is the way we're structured. So could the leadership come together? I really wanted you guys to be around this group. That doesn't seem,
We'd have to put them in the middle.
yeah, it doesn't make sense. So I don't wanna create sides so much as a circle. Imagine that in your head, even though we're not doing that. Yeah. Okay, so bringing your arms like this. What I'm gonna do is break us into
I can go.
it's okay. 2, 4. Okay, we're gonna break into 5 groups, or maybe 4 groups, because here, 1, 2,
How many are we, Rev?
Okay. So
50, I'd say.
I would like stand in the middle of this web and have Amber, you're gonna be centering one group, you're okay? And then we'll have Bethany centering another group, and Kelsey centering another group, and Danielle centering another group. Oh, we're doing 5 groups, and then you'll center another group.
I guess the
Yes.
Alright, cool.
Yeah, I think so.
I gotta go somewhere.
Yeah. That's okay. So we're gonna have 5 groups, and I would love it if we could have 2 people from the leadership who are in each one of those 5 groups. So I will say maybe 1, are you 2, 3, 4, 5? 1, 2, 3, 4. Are you in leadership?
Leadership, I was gonna say.
Great. 4. Right. And 5? Okay. Let's put you guys in separate places, and 1 will find, so 4 is gonna be with Amber, just find, let's split each other up into small groups where there's at least 2 leadership members with a RE family person. The rest of you, well, actually, I want to say something first. What do we cherish about leadership? Can we articulate what we cherish about leadership?
Bravery.
Bravery, commitment, what else? Accountability, sacrifice, satisfaction, creativity, openness, community, chutzpah, great, awesome, and an awful lot of hard work.
You know, it's really nice how, since we only have 1 mic, that you were reflecting that, because some people will miss the popcorn
Yeah.
style, so thank you for reflecting that.
It's just, we're working with what we have here.
Yeah.
So Rebecca,
Yes, sir.
can I just say, I would apply every one of those leadership descriptors to the RE folks too.
Great. Yes. Beautiful. Okay, so this is gonna be a little messier, but let's find ourselves in little groups, and yes, do you have a question? So, just maybe over there.
Over here, right?
Okay, so we're group 2.
I'll be group 2.
Okay.
That's fair, get out of here, Katie, we don't want you.
Danielle's group is gonna come to Danielle.
Oh my gosh, what are you group 2? Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love supermarket.
Yeah, maybe over there.
Okay.
I got
group peace.
We're group peace.
Okay, so because we have a couple of folks on Zoom with us in group 2.
Okay.
I'm thinking we should go someplace where it's a little quieter. Yes. Can we do that?
Yeah, where are we going?
To the library.
Okay.
There's like one here.
Okay.
I'm gonna tell them that's what we're doing.
Okay, great, thank you. So folks on Zoom, I just want to let you know that you're part of group 2, and we are going to the library where it's going to be a bit quieter so that you can actually hear.
RE people?
Yes, so I've got Ari, your mom, and Kat.
We have lots of leadership here.
Oh, wow, this is cool.
We need people.
Do we, can they hear us?
I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, I can hear you. We can just barely hear you too. Okay. Wait for the rest to come down.
Can we turn that up?
Can you hear me now?
Am I louder now?
I can barely hear you, but we'll wait.
We need to be in there to get instruction.
Oh, all right.
Wait a second, what are we doing?
All right, we're gonna get instruction. We'll be back.
Well, they're
All
coming.
right.
They're coming with us. Oh, I need to turn the volume up.
Yes, after the instructions.
Okay.
I need a scribe in this group. Does anyone want to be the scribe?
Thanks for your patience, Kat and Chris. We're doing them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Okay. And I need a scribe. Amber in this group. Can someone be a scribe in this group? Right. Bethany, are you going to be the library group?
Yes.
Okay, I need a scribe in that group.
Okay.
So the instruction.
I don't think spelling matters.
I don't.
Okay.
All right, I'll be the scribe. Let me get my pen.
Here. Mike's got a pen in his hand. He can be the scribe. Okay. That'll
Unless
teach
you want to do
carry a
it.
pen.
No, I said I can't spell. Being the scribe is embarrassing for me. So we're waiting for instructions.
I guess.
Okay. So if we could just settle for a moment, I want to just clarify the instructions. You all have the feelings and needs sheets. The person who is the RE family is going to be the first speaker, and they're just going to share their answers to one of the following 2 questions. The thing I am struggling with is, or the thing I am wishing for is. Okay? So the thing I am struggling with is, or the thing I am wishing for is. Is that clear? Does everyone have that? Bethany and
Okay.
Okay, everyone on that, clear?
Okay.
Find 2 groups. Okay.
Do we have an RE person in our group?
Is, or the thing I am wishing
Well,
for.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's Michelle and Lee that'll be in our group too.
Oh, but don't start yet. Okay. I want you to assign 2 people who are going to be really listening for what are the unmet needs of this person. You all can do it, but just 2 people who are really going to be paying attention to what are the unmet needs that are being voiced, okay? And the other invitation is for 2 people to really be listening for what are the feelings that are underneath, okay? So one side of the paper is there to support you with thinking about feelings, and the other side of the paper is to support the 2 people who are really thinking about what are the unmet needs. Okay? So all of us can do both things, but I want 2 people in each group to be listening for feelings and to be listening for unmet needs. Why? Because that is the doorway to empathy. And from empathy we find possibility.
So you said that there were two questions. The first one, struggling with one and wishing for the other, or is there another thing? Okay.
Right, and it's either one. So if you want to frame what you share from that perspective, what I'm struggling with or what I'm wishing for, either one, it could end up being both. That's not what's most important, okay? Those are just launching points. Okay, sorry, I have my back to that. You're gonna take about 3 minutes, so if there could be a timekeeper in each group, that would be great. You're gonna speak for 3 minutes about whatever you're struggling with or whatever you're wishing for. This is not a conversation, it's not a dialogue. Our intention here is not to problem solve, it is not to strategize. It is about really hearing one another through the lens of empathy. And that, as I said, is through what are the feelings and what are the unmet needs. Okay? So you're going to take 3 minutes to listen to the speaker. If it needs to go a little bit more, you can use that, but I would love to get at least 2 or 3 voices in this circle. So in order for us to do that in a short time, taking 3 minutes to just share the essence of your struggle or your wish. And then after that, the feelings people are going to ask, like, are these, am I right? Do I have the feelings? These are the feelings I hear. Okay? And they can ask the speaker, are these really the feelings? And then those of you who are in charge of really kind of taking a deeper look at what are the unmet needs present, you will kind of dive a little deeper and ask the speaker, is this the unmet need? Is this the unmet need? It may be a combination of various unmet needs. Is that clear between I guess we have ended up with 4 groups?
There's a 5th downstairs.
There's a 5th downstairs.
And they're just having a...
I'm not sure.
It's okay. Hopefully something beautiful will happen downstairs too.
I know, that's why Sky is going.
Oh, Sky's great.
Yeah, Sky's going to go down there. Yep.
Super. So thank you all for settling. That was way messier than I thought it would be, but you guys all look beautiful, beautifully assembled, and we have 1 more question.
Yeah, so the chair speaker number 1 would be from the RE, right?
Yes.
And then did you also want the leader to be in?
I think intuitively, just like as a group, decide if someone wants to. I ask that the person who's speaking next, it's not, again, like in response to, it's really speaking from your heart. What are you struggling with or wishing? Okay? And the same dynamic will apply to second speaker if we have time for a third. I doubt we have time for a fourth. We're going to regroup here in 25 minutes, I think.
Okay.
So it's not a lot of time, but understand it as less a completed conversation and more practicing a skill of listening for feelings and needs.
Yep.
From there, you take that skill into all of your further conversations with one another around this. And there is also a possibility we will meet again in the fall to take this even deeper, possibly over a longer period of time. Okay, so this is not a one and done. This is a practicing listening to each other for feelings and unmet needs. Okay? So we're going to regroup in 25 minutes. And each speaker will have 3 minutes, and then you'll take 3 to 5 minutes to surface the feelings and the unmet needs. Okay?
Yeah.
Any other further questions? Okay, I want us to all really think of ourselves and each other as cherished speakers and cherished listeners in this community.
All right.
Ready, set, go!
That's okay. We'll get there.
Yeah.
So we're the designated RE young people?
Yes.
Cool. I feel like my perspectives can be really singular, maybe not speak to all.
Okay.
Yeah, totally. Because it's also new people and,
Okay.
people haven't been here forever.
So folks on Zoom, can you...
Excuse,
This is
yes.
Okay, great.
Is there a parent in the group from RE?
Yes. Lee.
I know.
Lee, who's the DRE? Okay.
I know, but I'm also a parent of a kid that's in the program, so. And then we also have Michelle, who's a new person, younger generation, so there's some. Yeah, do you wanna start?
Me?
I don't know.
Oh no, Luna, do you have a question?
No.
Oh, okay. Oh, honestly, fair. I guess I wasn't prepared.
Okay, so let's look, can we see this? These are the questions. So, we're gonna have 2 or 3 people answering these questions and other people listening for what are the key feelings and what are the unmet needs.
Yeah.
And you're answering, what am I struggling with or what am I wishing for?
Sure.
And then anybody that is available to.
So Mike is keeping notes. I think
Great.
it's better if I'm not one of the note keepers. Who would like to do that? Thank
We
you,
all have our
Dean.
strengths.
As long as I have my own pen.
Thank you.
So, okay.
Yeah, I can start. Yeah, I think I'm struggling with kind of feeling understood. Sometimes I don't want to share what I'm struggling with because people in the congregation, and it's not meant to be malicious, but they'll talk about like, oh, back when I was younger, blah blah blah, and then it doesn't really make me want to talk about my stuff that I'm struggling with school and debt and the collapse of funding for queer research, and it kind of makes me want to close up. And then on top of that, this is a other thing, I kind of sometimes I feel like a floater. I'm young, but I don't have kids, and I'm not, aging gracefully with my friends, and I kind of don't know where I fit. That's why I took on leadership, because I just wanted to try, but I still feel like I don't know where I belong sometimes. So. Yeah. Sorry, I got me emotional. I wasn't prepared to talk about my feelings.
Yeah, that was a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, I hope that's okay. I don't want anyone to think that anyone's done anything wrong.
How about what you're wishing for?
Sorry.
It's okay. Everybody's allowed their emotions.
Sorry.
That's okay, Michelle.
I'm sorry.
I'm really scared for the future.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm gonna have a job in a year.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I come here because this is one place where I don't think about that. Where I'm not a student and I'm not a researcher. I'm just Michelle. I'm just a person. I'm sorry. Ooh, what's it supposed to be like?
No, this is exactly how it's supposed to be. There's no supposed to be anyway.
Sorry, I've been really scared.
Yeah.
There's just so much unknown, and I don't have any family out here. And I have the best partner in the whole world. If anyone's met Mac, he's got really great hair. That's how people remember him. They know he has really great hair.
Oh yeah, I do.
He does know. See, everyone knows about his hair. I think just there's so much uncertainty, and I want to feel like I have a foundation, and because of everything that's happening in the world, like I'm really scared I'm not gonna have a job in a year, or a way to pay rent, and a way to stay with my partner who I married in October, and it was beautiful. So I think I'm just struggling, and I know when I tell people that, the response is to give life experience, and I'm so honored that they're willing to share that, but I just, like, it's no one's fault. I won't say who, but earlier today I was late because I'm struggling with sleep, and I was complaining about my dissertation, and they didn't mean it in a bad way, but they were talking about what it was like for them when they did their dissertation, and they put it all in by hand, and I was like, no, you're right, like, I don't have it that bad, but I feel like I do, and they didn't mean it maliciously. I'm surrounded by brilliant people, I just don't, sorry. Ooh,
We hear you.
thanks, Russell.
We hear you.
We're listening.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I also really love you guys. I come here, and I feel like I don't always bring my full self here, and I feel bad about that, because I'm just running out of energy, and I'm not getting the best sleep, and I want to be here, and
I mean, this hasn't been your full self?
No. I wish, I get this from my mother, like I'm never on time and it's hard to, you know, make sure I leave at a good time, 'cause it takes me 30 minutes to get here and I'm just bad at timing. I wanna be able to bring my full self into every space, but I feel like I'm running around a little bit right now and I'm not being as present as I should be. I wasn't planning on being here, I think that's
Right,
why
I
I'm
made
so
her stay.
emotional. I wasn't prepared to talk about my feelings, I normally do that with a paid therapist, and so you guys get to listen to me for free.
So I think our job now is to maybe reflect a tiny bit, like what are some key feelings that we have heard? And what are some unmet needs that we have identified? And she mentioned that we can say that out loud and just check, like, does that sound right?
Yeah,
You
for
know?
sure.
So yeah, that's up to us to now interpret what Michelle.
Yeah.
One of the things I'm hearing is anger.
Sounds like anger.
I don't know if I wouldn't classify myself as angry, but maybe, I'm not sure.
But you can have anger without being angry. You know what I mean?
That's a good point.
I hear feeling alone, feeling scared,
Yeah.
feeling depleted, and feeling judged. Those were the things that I heard you.
And you at the end you said you can't bring your full self here.
Just run out of energy.
Right, depleted is a good word.
Depleted?
Yeah, well, I think Jean wrote it down.
That was a good catch.
Yeah, and.
Does it sound right?
So what I'm hearing is that you need people to see you as more than just this happy, vibrant, everything's great. That you have sadness and fear and you want that to be seen too.
Yeah.
So scared was a word that you used, right?
Yeah.
I know that I try to bring that, because I feel like that's what I bring to the community, but sometimes it's hard. And I feel really grateful, but I also feel like I'm running out of energy.
What would be a word? I heard you say that you don't want to hear people say what it was like for them.
Right, that's like kind of like the unsolicited advice. That it's not necessarily advice, it sounds like,
No,
it's more
and
just.
it's tough because it's tough because I see all sides of it. I know it's people trying to connect and support me, and I'm grateful for even like a hand being reached out in that way, but sometimes
It's not really hearing.
Well,
It's
stop
not doing
trying
what
to
we're
solve
doing right
the
now, which
problem.
is holding space for what is. Like just holding space for like, oh my God, this is so hard. Not like, well, when I was your age, this is how it was, and that feels like not as supportive.
Or trying to solve the problem instead of listening.
Yeah.
Support versus solutions.
Communication breakdown where they're trying to relate to you by telling you what it was like when they were your age.
Right.
You're just saying they're not hearing what you're saying because they're too busy trying to tell you what their experience was.
I wonder how we can write that as an unmet need.
So-
Because there's an unmet need there.
There is no net need, but going
Being
back,
heard.
it was being heard, communication, lack of communication is about being heard, or not being heard.
I feel the need to put in one more viewpoint. If you were telling me what you were telling me, and I suddenly jumped in and said, well, this is what happened to me, my motive would be to comfort you, to tell you that it worked out okay for me.
Right.
There's a piece of selfishness and a piece of not listening in that, but there's also a piece that's meant to be kind.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think, Mish, as you were saying, you get that. Like,
Yeah.
people aren't trying to be mean.
No, I don't think anyone's being mean or malicious, and I know it comes from a place of wanting to support.
And also just noticing time, which I'm not actually noticing really because I can't see a clock, but
Oh, shoot, yeah, I don't
just
have my phone.
that,
Yeah, sorry.
no, not at all, sorry. Just to say that I remember Rebecca saying that we're not unfortunately here to like solve all your problems, which is not
True.
even the point, which is obviously also not what you're asking for.
No.
But just to reflect like these are the feelings that we're noticing and the unmet needs that we're hearing. And then when we get back in a full group, we're gonna hear other feelings and unmet needs, and just that's kind of like a beginning step of starting to practice hearing this from each other, you know?
So as an unmet need, Michelle, when it comes to you telling people something and then they're just going back to, well, this is what I did. Is that like, and the lack of empathy to a certain extent?
No, I say when
right.
when that story is told, I think what's tough is the follow-up of not just the story, but the follow-up of, so you don't have it that bad. It's sort of the intent, whether they know if that's the intent or not. I understand that connection's being made, and I'm always very thankful because I'm surrounded by people who have gone through the process and I'm dreaming of trying to get through right now. I don't take that for granted. The hard part is just like sort of the tone that comes with it, that I really don't have it that bad. And that's like the hardest part. Because I'm not saying one is worse than the other, I just feel like it's kind of disregarding that I'm struggling.
So is it more like a detachment from where you are? I'm trying to find a word for that
This is a
unmet
really
need.
good question, yeah.
I think some people are being judgmental of you.
A little bit.
Right, that's what she
And
wrote.
that-
Yeah, I think it's a little
I
bit
get-
mental.
I get the sense that you feel alienated, that, you know, you're not connecting, that you're trying to tell them how you're feeling and they're not hearing you.
Yeah, I think
Right.
it's just like, I don't know what to call it yet, but just the language of like, oh, you don't really have it that bad.
And it's not really hearing you. I think
Yeah, I
that's
think
an
it's
unmet need.
both, yeah.
Like, I'm not really hearing
Yeah.
where you're at.
Right.
Yeah.
In addition, I hear an unmet need for security. And as I listen to you, I have to say, I have never been through what you're through. I have never been through a time that like we are living in. And so I think it's terrible.
That's a
Do
good
you
one.
guys like a lot? Thank you for saying that.
I mean, listen, your job, I mean, it's a terrible time. I'm sorry you're in it.
Sorry for
And
taking.
not just losing a job, or potentially losing a job, or losing funding, but also being the target of an attack that is
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Scary times.
and not just for being an academic, but because of the subject you study.
Right.
From the highest part of our government.
Yep.
And it's such a concerted, anyway, we don't need to, but I can see how you don't have security.
Right.
Yeah.
You have a heavy heart? I mean, I'm trying to think of sadness kinds of things that might be associated with that and looking at the list. I'm
Fear.
Worry,
Sure.
Right, there's,
worry,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's scary.
yeah,
I
I
hear
feel very
scary.
seen right now, thank you everyone.
yeah.
So Lee,
Or,
time for you to take off DRE and
Yeah.
facilitator hat.
right.
Be
And
parent.
And I was thinking that as a
Chair,
parent, but
speaker,
also
and-
I was noticing that it would be good to have a voice of someone in leadership as well. And I don't know if we have time for 3. I have no idea what time we even have.
I think we can be a little
12.
late on that.
I mean, we could do maybe 2 briefly, so
Let's
that
hear
we
your
hear
voice
from.
and
I feel
then
like a
we'll
lot
see
of
where
it's
we're at.
happening right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
As a parent, let's see. No, I'm like, I'm not prepared even though I've been like planning for this. I also wasn't planning on sharing, so.
I know, so then when it happens, you're like, oh, emotion.
Okay, so,
Struggling.
well, what I'm struggling with is helping my kid feel like they have a community where he belongs and people that care about him and more eyes than mine on him, like helping raise him and caring about his well-being and checking in on him. And wanting this to be a place where he just feels completely comfortable and welcome. And then the dynamic that is challenging is also helping him and his friends be part of what the rest of the congregation, like being upstairs for the affirmation ceremony. And they just left mad about that. So it's just a hard tug of like, we want you to just be fully you and do the things that bring you joy, and choose your path. And also, there's some things that we expect of you, and there's some, there's some expectations, which, so that's the whole thing about like creating covenant and doing that together, as opposed to like, these are the rules and you're breaking the rules. But, so that's been a struggle as a DRE, but also as a parent in helping him feel like you wanna come to church, and I hear that from a lot of parents, like, we want this to be a place where our kids want to come and want to continue coming, and if it becomes like we're doing this curriculum and, you know, these sets of expectations or whatever, then it's not as much a place they wanna come. And right now, we do have this great group that really wants to be here together, and they're building really great community. Yeah, and it's challenging helping them also integrate. And I also feel like some separation, but it's because I'm a DRE, because I feel like I have to separate from parents and not get too close, because I'm also like holding space for everyone, so I can't really have individual relationships with people, but then I do because I live in the community. It's a little bit challenging and upsetting. But, and then there's the kids running. And yeah, feels like a really scary time. I wanna kind of like retreat into this bubble of safety and not like be part of bigger systems in the world. Because it feels scary. So this feels like a safe place for me too. And I don't have a lot of the same experience as other parents here, but I think we'll hear from that hopefully in the talk back piece.
So scary time for you and for the kids?
Yeah, right. Like I feel scared for my kids. Just trying to be good humans in the world, and scared that some of the things that are happening politically, it's just are creating like this huge mess for them and that has been the case for a long time, but especially now that they're just inheriting this world that has really been messed up.
Quick question. Are you saying that that group of boys that were sitting at the back left before the affirmation? Oh.
Yeah, it's frustrating, but I talked to them afterwards, Amber's gonna talk to them as well. They just have started having a lot more of their own free time and space here, especially being here on Wednesdays where it's really just free hangout time. So it's just a learning curve, I guess, but it's also,
It's a learning curve for us
everybody
too,
Yes.
right? Yeah, because as they grow older, they're much more they get the feeling of independence, right? Is that where you think it's coming from?
Totally, right, and we wanna give them independence,
Right.
And I want them to like take ownership of some pieces of the service of being part of the congregation, like, I want them to feel like this is not just like our place to come and hang out and like throw our trash into the youth room. Like, this is our space and we wanna take care of it, and that's not happening. And they don't wanna be part of service, you know, I'm like, you all could do this thing, you know, for service, like you could do a puppet show, and they're just like, Anyway, so that's challenging.
They're becoming teenagers.
Cause they're almost teenagers, yeah, some of them are teenagers.
It should
It's
be a
so
band.
hard, this is not my favorite time of life.
Did I hear at the beginning, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
But
Yeah.
that struggling with the dichotomy in the different roles that you have.
Yeah.
Because wanting to be a parent, but at the same time running the RE program, it's really conflicting. It's causing you not to be able to devote all of your attention to parenting.
Right.
At a time when you think it's important.
I heard that too. I heard that you don't have the comfort and support that comes from being part of one group, because you have a foot in at least two, if not more. And that, that makes you not fish or fowl, and it's gotta be lonely.
Yeah, that's a similarity.
Right?
Yeah, totally, like I just keep myself separate.
And it sounds like one of the struggles to me is that you want something for your kids that they don't necessarily want for themselves in this moment, but maybe in a big picture, whether they know it or not, they want it for themselves.
Cause you know better.
Well, and it's like being part of this community long-term is like I don't know, it's the growing into it piece that they aren't growing into at the moment, but Sylvan's 12, so like, I can't maybe have some different expectations than he's ready for, but.
So
Yeah.
frustration, because
Very,
you have
very
a
frustrating.
child that you're trying to, incorporate into this community, but also as a teacher, are you frustrated with how that's all trying to come about?
It's
I mean,
so
for your
frustrating.
kid and for everybody else?
Yeah, but my kid pushes back the most. He's like, I am not doing what you're telling me to do as teacher because you're my mom. And so I'm gonna like talk while you're talking, and Amber, so.
So he's like the preacher's kid.
Disruptive.
He's like the preacher's kid.
He's totally like the preacher's kid.
I know. And it's not a great example for the rest of the kids, and yeah, he has kind of a bad attitude about it a lot of the time. So, yeah, it's very frustrating.
Do you feel
the
that?
first RE person to struggle with this.
I'm sorry?
You're not the first RE
Yeah.
person to struggle with this.
Yeah.
Is there something lacking, I mean, with, you feel about your abilities? I mean, is it, no, that's good, that's good.
I mean, I don't know, probably, but I think we're not supposed to problem solve right now. Definitely there's things I.
We're supposed to hear your feelings
Right.
and your unmet needs.
Right. Do we have a little list? Cause then maybe we have time for one more quick share.
Well, so before we wrap up, I just want to say that my perspective is
Yeah.
that Eve grew up in this community, Suzelle grew up in this community, and so did Elise.
Yeah.
And they've turned out pretty well.
And Amber. No, not Amber, I'm sorry, Kelsey.
Kelsey, that's right.
And Kelsey as well. So I think, looking at that long-term history, that I have confidence that the kids going through now will, obviously they're gonna push back and be teenagers, but,
Right.
we can look forward.
I do feel like it's important, this process is like, I really appreciate the reflection of like, this is how I'm feeling now. It's kind of like getting the thing of like, well, I also did a dissertation and it turned out fine.
Yeah.
So like, I appreciate that and I hear you and I know that there's some great young adults that have come through this congregation and it's really, really, really hard right now.
Yeah.
It's like really fucking hard. So like, I know he's gonna be okay, but like, he struggles so badly with anxiety, he can't get out of the house. And so like, coming here is actually like the only thing that he doesn't push against because he loves being here. And so I don't wanna make it like something that feels like, oh, it's just another place that you go and you get told what to do. It's just another place with rules and adults that like think they know better than you. And this is really literally the only place he will come without having like a mild panic attack or like bottling it all up because he feels anxious but he's pushing through it and doing it anyway, which is great. It's like a skill that he is learning how to cope with his anxiety and it doesn't come up when we are coming here. So it's like, anyway, I'm just saying it's really hard and I know that he's gonna get through it and it's really, really, really hard.
It's gonna be difficult.
Yeah.
It sounds like it feels untenable sometimes.
Totally. I sit in my room thinking, I can't do this anymore. I just don't know how to do this, especially as the only parent. There's like there's zero other involvement from any parent, so it's I do feel like I can't do it sometimes.
So support, I mean, you certainly have your, private life, but how about at the church? I mean, you need support from the community, from the private, but in the church, I mean, is there support for you? Is that an unmet need? I mean, is it?
Yeah, I don't know. Yes, there's definitely support.
I feel like it sounds like you feel alone in this, in navigating.
Yeah, totally.
You have
I
lots.
feel alone and I also feel like I have some support,
Yeah.
so there's both.
But it's hard when you wear multiple hats.
Yeah.
And navigating that can feel lonely.
Right, it is.
And I think I hear that you also feel almost a misalignment of, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't wanna create rules here and create that for especially your own kid. But you also realize like you want them to be there for like the affirmation and you want them to be connected.
There's
So-
still expectations to be part of the community.
So it's like this, it's like this difficult balancing game.
Yeah.
I feel like that's also, that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah. Thank you.
So we have time for one leader to
Good.
share, right?
Great.
Of course, I'm looking at Russell
Yeah.
being on the board.
Sorry, Lou.
I always have like a thing about circles.
No, I absolutely.
So what I'm hearing is that, as much as we love this place, that people don't feel safe here. Safe within their community, whether they're a younger person, teenager, whether there's a gender, whether there's an educational kind of a divide or division or separation. Even though we as a community say that we want to love one another, that there are some issues that are not being met. And the words safe and scared have come through, in this conversation quite a few times. So that's the big issue that I'm seeing.
May I just respond to that, Russell? I feel scared because of what's happening in the world. I feel safe here. I don't always feel heard here. That's how I feel. Just for myself, I can't speak for others, but I just wanted to add to that. This place makes me feel safe, and that's why I love it here. Sometimes, and I think because I seek safety here, that when I do share that I'm struggling with things, like it hurts a little more when the response isn't always feeling like I'm being heard. It's things that are said in passing that I stand by, that I do not think it comes from a place of like maliciousness or malintent. I think it comes from a place of wanting to support and not knowing how to. So sometimes I don't always feel heard.
So this has been an imperfect sanctuary in
Yes.
this world of turmoil.
Exactly. Nice summary, Lou.
Do you, Russell, want to share from your perspective as far as what you're struggling with? Or what is the other question? What you're wishing for?
Well, I think from my perspective that I personally need to listen better, deeper, more to people, one-on-one or in small groups. I think that there's a huge disconnect between the board leaders and what's happening to people or with what people are thinking in the rest of the community. And, when I say we're trying, we've tried to have some younger people on the board to help communicate with us. That's had some success. I think we're very deep still from the leadership point of view into the patriarchal, kind of old school sort of culture, and I personally don't think that, as good as we have it here, and this is probably the best place I've ever been part of, it still, to me, is very much a disconnect and doesn't really work. It doesn't work well.
What do you wish for? Oh, Saved by the Bell.
Hi.
Or you can call back in.
Come and gather.
It's time now?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're just
I
gonna
think
take
we
a
need-
nugget from each group, cause it is time.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you have something you wish for?
Yeah.
Well, I think we need better listening, better hearing, and I think we need a lot deeper communication between individuals. I mean, I haven't talked to you or you,
We say hi a
felt
lot.
you.
Yeah.
Well, but I'm saying-
We say hi, we're really good at saying hello.
We do that well, but,
Yes.
so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Russell, that was really
Thank you,
awesome.
Russell.
Okay.
Thank you both.
Thank you, everybody. That was lovely.
Some nuggets.
Let's do it again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Russell.
Pat and Chris.
Thank you so much.
We're bringing you back to the sanctuary.
I felt very heard, thank you. Now I need ice cream.
There's ice cream in the freezer.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rev. Also, I heard you when you were like, the extroverts get to me. I was like, oh, that's me. I'll work on the balance though. I want to make sure the introverts get to you too.
No, and
What are you gonna do? It's okay.
so I know everybody.
That's true. You are like the talk
And
of
so,
the town. Yeah.
well, I mean, it's my job to know everybody,
True,
right?
that's your role. Yeah.
And it always shocks me when people don't
Here,
know
I'm gonna
each
get
other
over
and
this.
haven't had deep conversations with each other because that's all I do.
Lee, I just really appreciate you.
I still feel like I'm just beginning
I
to
know I wasn't gonna be
people.
here.
Okay. So, is it okay if I put our Zoom folks right here? All right. Great.
I don't know which hello for this is the one. I just want to honor everyone's time, so the quicker we can just kind of gather up here. The more mindfully we can just bring ourselves together. I know a number of people had to leave, but I'm hoping that each group, you have a scribe, or maybe the scribe can share, or maybe a member of the group can share. Just the nugget, maybe a feeling, but really like what Marshall Rosenberg used to say, go like the speed of lightning from the feeling into the need, the unmet need. So we're gonna go like a speed of lightning into the unmet need of each of the 4 groups. So I don't know which group would like to start.
Can we move this microphone to the person who?
I don't think it works.
No, it shouldn't.
Oh,
They changed the battery.
Oh,
It's good now.
Great. So one back there.
So you want unmet need, right?
You can start with a couple of feelings, but yes, we're looking for.
Okay, some of the feelings were that, you tell somebody something and then they,
Not the story, just the feeling.
the feeling, okay.
You gotta step away from the speaker.
Not hearing,
Okay,
that's an unmet need.
yes.
Alone, judged, a feeling of, I don't know how to put this into a word. When I was your age, this is what I did. So I'm not quite so sure how to say that. That was a big one.
Maybe the feeling is shame.
I think so, yeah. It's because, yes, there's or vulnerability.
Maybe,
Vulnerability, possibly shame. We'll just put it up there. Vulnerability.
And some other key feelings were conflicted, frustrated, lonely.
Did I hear afraid?
Scared, not heard.
And actually, why don't, no, okay. I was gonna say we could do it collectively, but, and then the unmet needs.
So the unmet need was not hearing, not being heard.
Not being heard.
Security. Not having support.
So need for support.
Yeah, those are some. What else? Any other questions that we want to go through? Or that's it?
We felt a need for grace.
A need for
and
grace.
a need for accommodation for all needs, both younger and older. A need for logistical changes to accommodate.
That's a strategy, but yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Someone else?
We heard different things, actually. We heard that, need for more connection.
Yeah.
Need for childcare. I mean, some of them are strategies and technical things. We kept going into that and just how could we get that time together, recognizing that everybody's busy. Different feelings among the different members of RE, they don't all feel the same way. Some people are actually described as feeling hopeful and that they do belong, which is important and good to hear also.
Right.
Yeah.
In that last statement, I'm getting a sense that maybe there is a sense of a need for belonging though in others. So,
Yes,
okay.
yes, definitely feeling that. And on the opposite side, are we still working with one person, or are we kind of putting these together?
You can put them together. No, this is a group, your group nugget, so.
Okay, group nugget is that people themselves are saying, part of that's my responsibility to be more connected.
Yes. Beautiful. Another group. What about your group? Oh, that was that one, okay. Okay, great.
My recordings, and I'm afraid I was overwhelmed trying to handle the feelings and not focusing on the unmet needs, but the unmet needs are clearly some of, what a young mom would face with trying to bring the children up right, handling the normal machinery around a family, and struggling with the lack of a model from her own youth, and trying to forge a new path with more support. Feelings around these, I'll say overwhelmed many times over, exasperated, frightened, unsettled, lonely, fatigue obviously resulting therefrom, and when expressed as a need, wishing for, struggling for connection with the community and affirmation.
I was going to say that I was listening to that group up quite a bit, and the number one thing I heard was really just an affirmation of belonging.
One, and in regards to the congregation here, the apparent isolation and non-connection of what's going on between RE and the normal from my point of view, because I'm attending here, the worship service that goes on upstairs.
And I also heard, just to kind of wind us up on this group, was from other folks feeling torn between being fully present here and being connected to RE. So I see a lot of nodding faces. So there's a sense of like longing for this connection, but also a deepening of their experience in here, in this part of the space. Among the four groups, were there any other important needs to surface? Anyone heard? Yes.
The only other word to describe anything that I've heard is that apathy. And apathy about if things seem to be going smoothly, then why rock the boat? Or we've already done it this way, so why do we want change and to make it difficult for ourselves? So we become too comfortable and apathetic.
So anyone have a clear way to articulate that as an unmet need is a willingness for change?
Somebody in our group also said bravery.
Bravery. A willingness for bravery.
So if I may, I think what Elise was getting at was that when we say things like, oh, we tried it that way once and it didn't work, or we used to do it this way, why don't we do it like that again? Or why we can still do that, makes people feel kind of dismissed.
So the inverse of dismissed is respected.
Or being heard, maybe.
Being heard, but also that my offering is actually valued and respected.
Legitimate.
Mutuality.
Respect.
Mutuality is on this list.
Okay, mutuality.
Legitimacy.
I'm sorry, you said?
Legitimacy.
Legitimacy. So like legitimacy that my voice has a legitimate place in the conversation, that it's valued and heard. Yes.
We also heard not feeling safe to speak up with a different opinion or idea.
Right. So that's safety. Right? And in a community that really holds safety as a value, it's really important for us to shine that light. And in the same way that we talked about earlier, it's also our responsibility to meet our own fears and speak up anyway. It's also part of it, yes.
I think another unmet need, and you can see it in most of the activities with this congregation, consensus.
I'm just running off the sharing that was just done around change and, both feelings all around that. And what I heard in the person who was resistant was I heard a need for comfort, a need for stability, and a need for, I don't want to say predictability, but maybe support around change, and if it's going to disrupt comfort or stability, then having some kind of, comfort and stability in the change.
That there's support.
Yeah, support.
For change.
Yeah.
Yes. We'll take one more, and then I don't want to keep you longer than our time, so go ahead.
What was kind of alluded to was a divide between leadership and the rest. We don't necessarily know what's going on with the board, and sometimes decisions are made without involving the people who are directly affected.
And so that's less about RE versus leadership, but leadership and the rest of the congregation, which is a slightly different but very integrated issue. No, but that's how we grow, is we recognize where there's space to bring deeper connection in both structured and spontaneous ways. Okay. There's a lot here, and it's super messy, but I'm going to write it all down. And the invitation for each of us is, well, first out, you're going to have to stand up.
Okay.
Okay. I want us to breathe into these feelings I'm going to read out loud, and just hold them in our hearts as real feelings. So, alone, judged, shamed, vulnerable, conflicted, lonely, scared, overwhelmed, hopeful, and torn. Can we take a breath together, holding all of that, the complexity of all of that? Okay. Now I'm just gonna throw out some of these needs, and as we move into the next stage of how do we meet these needs, first we have to really feel them. And all of these needs are ones that we all can relate to, right? In our own lives, in our own ways. So, the need for being heard, the need for security, safety, belonging, support, grace, accommodation, the need for connection, for respect, for affirmation, for comfort and stability in the face of change, for consensus. Yeah, that's a lot there. Let me take a breath there. Just want to close with a Tibetan prayer. May all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all beings be free of suffering and the causes of suffering.
May all beings never be separated from the sacred joy that is beyond suffering. May they rest in equanimity, free of grasping, hatred, and ignorance. And may we be aware of the equality in all that lives. So, inviting us all, one last breath together. And just from my own, just traveling around, I just invite all of us to deeply affirm the presence of one another even as we exit this space. To affirm the humanity of every single person as they exit this space. Maybe not everyone, but as we leave, take time, especially the ones that you may not normally do so with. Yeah, just an affirmation of you are cherished. I actually might even invite you to say those words. You are cherished in this community.
So I wonder if before we leave, we could all just rise and recite our covenant together, right? And say it not so much to be perfectly aligned with exactly the cadence that other people are speaking it, but say it from the heart as a reflection of everything you've heard here today.
Can we do a circle?
Yeah, what if we do a circle? Let's do that.
Hey, Brad, before we do that, what's the next step from all this?
So the next step is to continue the conversation, right? Today I was talking about finding that third way, but we can't find that third way until we figure out the two poles of where we are right now. And so that's what we're working on. I think it's safe to say that. So we'll continue the conversation in the fall. Love.
Is the spirit of this congregation, and service is this prayer. This we are thankful to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Pat, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rev Denis.
It's hard work, but it's worth it. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thanks, Kat. Bye.